June 1939 is month number 13 of the golden age of comic books. This ties in with the release of Action Comics number 13 and the 13th appearance of Superman. Let's analyze all the comics on the newsstands with a cover date of June 1939. This month there are 22 comics, and this is tied with the same number from the previous month. This was a very historic month. Superman number 1 is released from DC Comics. The popularity of the character in Action Comics had proved so successful that they decided to give him his own feature series. This was the first time a superhero was given his own running comic book series, though it started out as being only a quarterly issue, but nevertheless, number 1 came out. And there are 113 copies graded by CGC. So at this point, this is the most common book of the 1930s. At this point, we've never seen any comic with this many copies graded, and yet there are 0 copies graded 9.0 or higher. In the Overstreet price guide, the book is listed at $70,000 in good condition. That's got 2.0. This is by far the most valuable comic book of the month. This was a very historic month for Superman. Not only was he appearing in Action Comics number 13 with another cover appearance, and that book worth $11,000 and 34 copies graded by CGC, but he made a third appearance this month in New York World's Fair, and this was the 1939 annual edition. There's 73 copies graded by CGC and a fairly hefty price tag of $1,700 in low grade. So 3 appearances of Superman in a single month. And New York World's Fair was also a historic book because it features the first published appearance of DC's latest superhero, the Sandman. So that's definitely a key book. Also for key books for DC, Detective Comics number 28. The second appearance of Batman was out this month. 37 copies graded by CGC and a $6,000 price tag. So you can see that book is a bit scarcer. New York World's Fair has actually proven to be quite a common book. A lot of copies were saved. It probably sold really well at the World's Fair that year. And so 73 copies is quite high. But look how many copies is Superman number 1. It's amazing that many copies have survived. But of course the high price tag has really brought copies out. What else was happening this month that really catches our attention? Wonder Comics number 1 had been quite controversial the month before, and so number 2 came out this month from new publisher Fox Comics. This is quite a scarce book, only 10 copies graded, but still a hefty price tag of $649. A couple characters got their own feature books. We've got Hey Yo Silver, the Lone Ranger, was featured in Large Feature Comics number 3. There is 15 copies graded and a decent $256 low-grade price. And single series number 7 this month featured the character Frankie Doodle. Now this is a very scarce book, only 2 copies graded by CGC, and yet not high demand for this. So this is actually the cheapest book on the entire list in the Overstreet price guide. Only $34 for a low-grade copy, and even a near-mint copy, if you could find one, is priced at under $500. And we're reaching that point where there's a number of books on this list now which are just far enough in the run so that they're not really considered key issues, even though they're still quite scarce. They don't have much of a price tag, not huge demand. So we see that with titles such as Crackerjack Funnies, Super Comics, Ace Comics, Tip Top Comics, and even King Comics, Popular Comics, and Famous Funnies all are getting to be lower price tags. If we look at the CGC, it is common that the most expensive books and the DC books will have the most copies graded, since that's what most collectors are seeking out. If we break that down and see what else stands out, well, the Hey Yo Silver Lone Ranger book, surprisingly, had 15 copies graded by CG. That's the highest of any non-DC comic on the list. Still not a lot of copies. We find that there are actually still 3 comics on this list that have 0 copies graded. And what are they? Jumbo Comics number 8 from Fiction House has 0 copies graded, but that is because this is the last of the oversized issues, and therefore CGC is not able to grade this book. They are out there, but just not graded. But we also have Ace Comics number 27 and King Comics number 39. Both have 0 copies on the CGC census in any condition, including restored copies. Just none. And this is most likely, though, due to, again, the low price tag. These books don't move up very much year to year, and therefore dealers just have not found it profitable to even bother grading those particular books. If you want to collect a complete set of these 22 books, you can see the low-grade Overstreet price is over $92,000, and it would cost you over $1.4 million to build a near-mint set of these books. Again, this is primarily due to the release of Superman #1. And Superman #1 is a major key book. It is the 3rd most valuable comic book of all time. At this point, over 550 different comics had been published in the modern standard comic size since 1933. So that's 6 years now we've had the comic books. But the market is really heating up. DC has got a winning ticket here with these new superhero books, and they're starting to cash in. And we're seeing the publishers are going to start jumping in on the bandwagon. If we just use an estimate that the average comic on the list had a print run of 200,000 copies, that would mean that there was at least 4.4 million comics on the newsstand this month. And out of that, 350 of them have been graded by the CGC. This is by far the highest number we've ever had so far. And again, this is mostly due to Superman #1, New York World's Fair, and Detective Comics number 28 and Action Comics number 13. That's DC's 4 big superhero books, and they dominate almost the entire list of books that have been graded by CGC. If we look at the high-grade copies, so only 17 books out of the 4.4 million comics have survived in high grade and been graded by the CGC. Famous Funnies, number 59, still the longest-running comic book in the market. And there's 4 copies graded, no high-grade copies, a low price tag of $39. Not considered a key issue at this point at such a high issue number, but still such a historic series. Wait till you see what happens next month.